Marketing and InfoStretch. I'm here with Avery Lyford, our Chief Customer Officer. Avery, I know that you have had a wealth of experience working with a variety of companies as they embark on or approach digital transformation, or they're in the midst of digitally transforming. And we were hoping that today you could shed some light on your experience, what you've seen work, what you've seen not work, and also what's next. Okay, let's start with the basics. Digital, this wild, wild west of digital. How do you define that, and also the concept that InfoStretch talks about a lot of digital maturity?
Sure. I mean, one thing, the misconceptions people have is that digital transformation is just like another website, or it's just about it's about technology. It's not about technology. It's about using technology in service of your business, and most importantly, in service of your customers. So it's about changing the way customers are served and what they receive by using technology in a way that fits with the workflow, the experiences, and the sources of value in a given industry. Now, one of the reasons we talk about digital maturity is that, the companies we're working with are often not digital natives. So their challenge in life is, how do they take the assets they have and make them effective in this new world? Not try to be something they aren't, and instead use the unique skills and capabilities and data they have to serve their customers in a unique and special way. So we talk about digital maturity because with maturity you gain wisdom. And with the experience of these companies, you have the wisdom to know what will really make a difference for your customers.
When it comes to the approach that you see some of your customers taking to digitally transform, is it sort of a big bang approach where they feel as if they need to boil the entire digital ocean, or are they looking at it as a phased approach? And if it's phased, what are some of the common phases you're seeing as they embark on this effort?
Definitely it's in terms of phases. And I think one of the keys here is that digital is not something you do the way you would do an ERP rollout or the way you do some other big IT initiative. It's more of a change where you're now, instead of IT being this big capital investment, it becomes an operating expense because it becomes not just something that you've done once, but something that you become. It becomes what you're offering. It becomes integral to your offering.
So what are some of the ways in which they measure success so far? What are some of the key milestones and metrics that you're seeing consistent with some of the customers that you're dealing with?
Yeah, one of the big changes is that, historically you'd organize a lot around your internal processes. And one of the big changes with digital transformation is you need to organize around your customer journey. So you start to say, how can I reorganize my team? How can I put together a team to really look at the customer journey, and how can I serve that customer better? And to do that, it's not a question of handoffs and throwing things over the wall between different silos. You need an integrated team that's going to work together with a common goal, which is to serve their customer in a better way.
Which is not an easy task.
It's never an easy task to change how organizations behave. Everyone struggles with that. The people watching this are all thinking like it's a personal problem, that they're dealing with a reorg, or they're dealing with the fact that the organization's not structured a certain way. Everybody's struggling with that. Everybody's struggling with how do you adapt to workflows or change workflows. It's hard work. I think the key is, again, coming from a customer standpoint. You measure around the metrics that matter for your customers. Historically, IT was a lot, often measured around efficiency or how you could cut cost. One of the big changes now with digital transformation is you can talk about top-line revenue contribution, both direct revenue, but you can also look at other metrics like Net Promoter, which is, of course, something that we're huge fans of. But there are other metrics, but again, they all come back to how are you changing your customer's experience. The other piece of this I think that's interesting is digital as a way of also changing how your own employees work with your company. So you can start to say, how do I change the customer experience by making my employees more effective?
So the digital world, it is a highly interconnected environment producing a humongous volume of data, and I assume with a variety of companies going through the path of digital transformation, what are they doing with this data, and how are they leveraging it from an analytics perspective to become a little bit smarter about what's working and to build off of that and not really necessarily pursue what's not working.
Yeah, and there are probably two aspects to this. One is talking about how you can get more real-time data. So one of the nice things with a lot of the digital technologies, you can get immediate feedback. So it's no longer a case of that you do something and then you find out 3 months later, did it work or not work with my customers. You can get immediate feedback. Often not even by asking customers, but by just watching what they do. And just by watching, how that customer journey has changed, how it was accelerated, how friction was taken out, you get immediate feedback. That's one aspect. The second aspect, because you can now take these very large data sets, you can tease out insights about your customers.
Right, so you can be more predictive.
You can be definitely more predictive. Now, an interesting thing that goes on here is there's kind of what I call data engineering, and then there's data science. And the data engineering is how do I take all that data and get it in a form, sometimes called a data pool, but how do I bring all of that away in a rational way so I can look at it? There's a second aspect which is very different, which is data science, which kind of comes from the business level down. It tends to be much more customized and specific for a given company. So we see a big split between a data engineering, which is how do I do that, build the technologies to allow for this analysis to occur. And then there's a second community of data science, which is focused on how do I actually run the right analytics to extract meaning from all of that data. And both have to be in place.
So what do you see as some of the barriers to entry with these companies as they go throughout various stages of that maturity cycle and they strive to go higher up the curve? One
of the classic challenges is organizational. I mean, how do you get these different groups to work together?
So it's not a technology issue; it's more of a people issue.
As is often the case in business, as is often the case in life. People are far more complicated than any technology.
Some people are saying that this whole AI thing is not for real, and it's more of a trend that's got a short life cycle. Do you have any perspective on that?
Well, AI, we should really be careful here because there's artificial intelligence and there's augmented intelligence.
Right.
And people often talk about artificial intelligence, where in fact I think they really mean augmented intelligence. The best chess playing in the world is not done by a machine or by a computer. It's done by a human assisted by a computer, because computers are good at a set of things and people are good at a set of things. And they're different sets of things. So as with any team, the best team is not built on the lack of any weakness, it's built on complementary strengths. So computers have a set of strengths to bring, people have a set of strengths to bring. So the best is not artificial intelligence and replacing all of the people, it's letting people be great at what they're great at doing.
And augmenting and building.
And then augmenting them.
Excellent. Great. Well, did you have anything further to add on the whole concept that I haven't covered?
I think we've hit on the key points. The point that this digital maturity, the goal for an established company is not to try to be something they aren't.
Right.
Play to your strengths.
Yeah.
I think one of the first rules of competition is to play on your battlefield, not to let the other person pick the battlefield.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons we talk about digital maturity is that as an established company, your customers, their history, you've got and you've got trust with them. Hardest thing in the world to get is trust. And if you've been working with a set of customers over a long period of time, you both know them well and they've learned to trust you. Take advantage of that. Don't throw it away.
And what can be scary for some of these organizations is the variety of tools and technologies that are out there claiming to do X, Y, and Z to help them digitally transform. But what I'm getting from you is that really you need to focus on your customers and what they're asking for, and then bring in the necessary tool sets and the additional support so you can build around their needs.
Yeah, we have a motto at InfoStretch: the customer leads, the technology follows.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.